and welcome in to the Ingalls studio here on ESPN Asheville, 92.9 FM, 880 AM, and 1400. The Sportsocracy, heard everywhere on the iHeartRadio app. Don't forget, seen everywhere at thesportsocracy.com. Just click on that live video link right on the front page of thesportsocracy.com. Don't forget to subscribe to the YouTube channel. That way you can get into the comments. Welcome into a Friday afternoon. It is a football Friday once again, as we will, of course, be going down every in and out of the AFC, NFC championship games.
It's also a snowing like a heathen monster outside.
It's snowing outside, and I'm happy.
Why?
Because I love snow.
As someone that drives a mobile death trap, I'm not sure that you should be that excited about what's happening outside right now.
You know what? It's all in the Lord's hands. And if today's the day he chooses to take me, at least there'll be snow on the ground. It'll be pretty and white.
Well,
except for the blood.
It's pretty.
All the blood.
It's pretty and wet right now. It's just it's snowing incredibly hard, and I don't like it.
Right, right. It is a Friday, so as we do each and every Friday, we play Beat the Chief with Asheville Police Chief David Zach.
You know. Of course.
Yeah, Jeremy wins last week by a game.
Nobody circles the wagons like the big mulleted ginger.
5-3 in our 8 picks last week, because not only we picked against the spread, we also picked the over-unders as well. So he was 5-3. Chief was 4-4, and I was 3-5. It was not the greatest week.
There was actually a point where I didn't think you were going to get a game right.
Yeah. It was very, very close. We all whiffed on the Tennessee-Cincinnati game, because we both had Tennessee covering and we both had the over, and neither of those hit.
Of course we did, because they were playing the Bengals.
Yeah.
Who you had to think there was going to be some letdown, but there wasn't. And now we're here. Cincinnati Bengals, Kansas City Chiefs in the AFC Championship game with San Francisco 49ers and the LA Rams in the NFC Championship game. Asheville Police Chief David Zach joining us. Beat the Chief, always brought to you by Clarissa Marshall of eXp Realty. Go to clarissasellswnc.com. Chief, sorry about the thing that 13 seconds. That's rough. That's rough.
Yeah, you're right.
He's trying to be measured because he doesn't want to cuss on Asheville Police Chief cusses on a local radio show.
Yeah, it wouldn't be the first time.
When we discussed this, I sent him a text and said, we're going to do the whole first hour. We'll talk about each game individually, and I'll give you some platitude to talk about your Bills.
Yeah.
Parentheses, if you're up for it.
Horrible. Horrible.
I'm not getting the feeling that he's really up for it.
No.
He's still sore.
No, actually, you know
sore.
what? Just like in the last day or two, I've actually started watching the highlights.
Okay.
And reading about football again. But
right.
yeah, I had to take 4 or 5 days off there.
Yeah.
I just couldn't watch television. If I saw a highlight or something, I had to turn it off.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't want to read about the local coverage. I didn't want to read about the national coverage. I didn't want to know nothing.
Right.
But
So basically what that means is he doesn't know that earlier this week we equated Josh Allen to Jim Kelly.
Yeah.
in what fashion?
So we did this experiment at the beginning of the week that the NFL recasts itself every decade.
Mm-hmm.
And so you have the perennial winner, you have the perennial loser, which happened to be Jim Kelly for the 1990s.
Sons at night.
And then Jeremy predicts that Josh Allen is going to be the perennial loser for the 2020s.
Well, here's the thing. I think when you go back to the Kelly era, they lost the AFC Championship. Then the next year, they lost the divisional round.
Right.
Then they went to 4 in a row.
Yep.
And lost.
Okay, so
if
follow that same
if
path.
you follow
You're
the
on
trajectory,
it's in the pipeline here.
Right.
But I just don't know. I think with this quarterback, despite I think what a massive coaching failure in the last minute of the game there, they have the pieces in place. This team is going to win a Super Bowl.
Yep.
I think just Allen is that good.
he is that good.
I
is
agree.
that good.
But part of the problem that he has, though, is he is in the AFC. And there are so many good quarterbacks in the AFC right now between Lamar Jackson and Baltimore, Patrick Mahomes in Kansas City. Now you got Burrow thrown into the mix, Justin Herbert with the Chargers. I mean, every guy that we came up with.
Even Derek Carr. Even Derek Carr is capable of beating you on any given day.
Yeah. Well, I mean, unless they hire who they apparently seem poised to.
Yeah,
we'll talk about that in the next hour.
Yikes! That could
Stop
be
hiring
bad.
people that know Bill Belichick. It will not go well for you. It never does.
It never does.
But no, I mean that's what everybody's talking about is the Mahomes Allen matchup for years to come, and I'm like, no, there's a few other names you need to add into that.
Well, I mean, this is going to be just like the 2000s, the early 2000s, the late 90s in the AFC, where you had Pittsburgh was always around, you had New England, you had Indianapolis. I mean, the AFC was a dogfight back then, and it's going to continue to be for the next 10 years because you have all of these great quarterbacks leading these teams. So, I mean, I understand that you're upset, but I would feel pretty happy with where my franchise sits right now.
I mean, you're not going to be able to compete with those teams without a stud. I mean, you're not going to do, for instance, what San Francisco is doing right now.
Right.
You know, making it to the NFC Championship game with a quarterback that is not anywhere near that elite class.
Right.
You may still be able to do that in the NFC for a few years, but in the AFC, these guys are going to. They're all going to be there. Mm-hmm. They're all going to be there at some point.
Yep.
They're just all that good.
All right, so the AFC Championship game, it's at 3 o'clock on Sunday. We will be covering all of the games, live reacting to all of the games, live on the YouTube stream. Just want to, if you haven't joined us for one of these yet, it's a whole lot of fun, and we encourage you to do so. We do run on a bit of a delay. We'll do time checks so you can make sure that you're following along on your DVR along with us at the same time so you can kind of see it. But, you know, legalities in the NFL don't allow us to do play-by-play and recaps immediately as they're happening. But anyway, you want to join in on that, thesportsocracy.com is the website. Click on the live video link and hit that subscribe button.
We will also be picking the best delivery pizza option. 2 categories, since we're doing a 7-hour live stream.
Right.
I'd be remiss if I didn't do this. 7 hours of commercial-free football. So tonight on all of the social medias, we will put out all of the delivery options that we have. Mm-hmm. We're going to pick 4. We're going to go Dave Portnoy style, Barstool, one bite. Everybody knows the rules.
Yep.
Except we're going pepperoni.
Okay.
I'm not doing cheese pizza because I'm not 6 years old.
Okay.
I refuse.
Okay.
All right. If I'm going to order pies, they're going to have the best ingredient on them.
And this is not, are we limiting it to chain restaurants, or is this like if we can get a pie delivered from Favelas that's right down the street, are we including those? That's the main question that I have at this point. But
here's how I'm going to answer that. I'm going to put up the graphic on social media, and whatever wins.
There you go. That's why that's why we are the Sportsocracy. We let the Democratic Republic of Sports. Let you decide.
Here's what I'm saying. The one thing that I will tell you that we learned from yesterday when we mentioned this, I will not allow this Little Caesars slander to continue. So if you keep talking ill of my pizza, just okay.
They don't deliver, so it's not.
Are you serious?
Oh, the deep dish Little Caesars. It's
all right, I've never had the deep dish, but you got to remember, I'm from Buffalo.
Oh, yeah.
The Little Caesars and the Domino's don't exist in Buffalo. They're there, but there's a pizzeria a local pizzeria on every corner.
Exactly.
I've always wondered, why do they exist there? Like, how do you make any money? There's great pizza places everywhere.
Because it's cheap. And I doubt that the mom and pop shops and the corner stores or the corner pizzerias are. Can you get a medium pizza for $5 from one of these places?
No, you'll pay $6 and actually get a good one.
Oh, indeed, Indeed.
I knew if I mentioned that in front of the New Yorker, I knew exactly how that was going to go.
Yeah.
That's right.
Pathway to hell's paved with
good intentions. 2 things you never argue about, or 3 things you never argue with New Yorkers about: chicken wings, pizza, and political corruption. It's
No, we just acknowledge it.
They know all about all of it.
We live with all three on a daily basis.
Exactly.
That's your life.
AFC Championship game: Kansas City Chiefs, Cincinnati Bengals in Arrowhead, and Cincinnati, just so we all know, has never lost an AFC Championship game. 2-0 all time. 1981, 1988.
And they've always ended up playing the San Francisco 49ers.
Yes, they have.
All are things that are possible. And if you have the cojones to bet it, it will pay you quite nicely.
Right. This is the fourth time in a row that the Kansas City Chiefs have been to the AFC Championship game. There are 3 other franchises in the AFC that have made 4 straight AFC Championship games, and I want to see if you guys can name who they are.
That have made 4 straight AFC Championship games?
Yes.
I'll let him have his.
Well, that's the Buffalo Bills.
One's the Buffalo Bills because they famously lost 4 Super Bowls in a row.
How many are there?
There are 4 now with Kansas City, so we've got 2 of them. We've got Kansas City, Buffalo, then you have...
Pittsburgh Steelers.
No.
New England?
New England went 8 years in a row.
That was easy one.
From 2011 to 2018, they went to 8 AFC Championship games in a row. And then there's one more, and you got to kind of turn the clock back a little bit for this one.
This is probably beyond
Miami?
It's not Miami.
No, I would have thought Miami in the 70s.
Miami went 3 times in the 70s in a row. The Pittsburgh Steelers went 3 times in a row. But only one other team has gone 4 times in a row, and that is the
Denver.
Las Vegas Raiders.
Oh, I was going to say Denver.
Back then they were the L.A. Raiders.
I was about to say it was not the Las Vegas Raiders.
That was back during the John Madden years, back in the 70s. So anyway, just nice little trivia game there. But what is going to happen this weekend? We saw this game a month ago. 4 weeks ago, we had Kansas City in Cincinnati. Cincinnati wins a thriller, 34-31. They were able to pull a big comeback in the second half. What is to stop that from happening again?
I don't like the chances for Cincinnati here. You have a stat. I have a stat.
Mm-hmm.
This is from the Elias Sports Bureau. Joe Burrow is the 6th player in NFL history to enter a conference championship game having been sacked 50-plus times.
Yes.
His 62 are bar none the most. You know how many wins those quarterbacks have? 0. And that's my fear. My fear here is that exactly what I've been saying about Cincinnati all year long is going to come back to bite you. You've got a left tackle here that is miscast to me. Jonah Williams is he's a right tackle.
Yeah.
That's what he is.
Yeah.
Your right tackle situation is a little bleak. And now you've got to find some way to stop Melvin Ingram, and you've got to find some way to stop Chris Jones.
Mm-hmm.
And I just don't see it. I don't. I've said this all week long. I've read this book before of the spunky little team that somehow finds a way to get to the conference championship game.
Mm-hmm.
And you have that whole week of hope of, what happens? But what if they do? And then they get to the title game, and they get squished like a bug on a windshield.
Do they, though?
Yes, they do.
I mean,
Jacksonville is the only one that stayed within a touchdown.
I was going to say,
fits the parameters of what I'm talking about.
Yeah, I was going to say Jacksonville, they only lost by 4 in that championship game 4 years ago. I think it's 24-20 was the final score. So, I mean, I understand what you're saying, but that's what we've been saying all year about Joe Burrow, is that he gets sacked way too much. However, despite the fact that he was sacked 62 times, he's still one of the best quarterbacks in the league, and I can't get away from the fact that I think he's just that good.
Oh, he's that good.
Yeah.
Oh, I don't think there's any question. He's that good. And he's going to be good for a very long time.
And I don't know how Kansas City...
Unless he keeps getting sacked like that.
See, I can't see... the same as, you say Kansas City can get home, their defense can get home in this one. You don't know how that offensive line is going to stop them. I don't know how that Kansas City secondary is going to stop Cincinnati.
Well, they're not. I mean, they're not. I said this earlier in the week. Jamar Chase had the 16th greatest game in NFL history for a wide receiver the first time these two teams played. At the end of the day, I don't know that that's enough. If I'm Kansas City, I look at this game and go, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to crank the heat up, and I'm going to see if you can beat me.
Mm-hmm.
Because you're going to have to stop Melvin Ingram. You're going to have to stop Chris Jones, and I don't think you can do it. The offensive sides of this, to me, are a wash. I know exactly how Kansas City's going to get to Burrow. I don't really know how Cincinnati's going to get to Mahomes. The Buffalo pass rush is exponentially better than Cincinnati's.
Yes.
And they did.
Got there.
They got to Mahomes. They couldn't tackle him.
That's the thing with Pat Mahomes that nobody ever talks about. He's not the most athletic quarterback you've ever seen, but he's one of the slipperiest quarterbacks I've ever seen.
Mm-hmm.
Brady-esque in his ability to move in the pocket.
I hate that you just said that. I've already done 20 years of Brady. I can't do 20 years of Burrow, too.
Do you think anything changes the game plan for Cincinnati? I mean, are they going to go into this with the gunslinger mentality of we got to outgun these guys, or are they going to try to, I don't know, take advantage on the ground? The one thing that they haven't done in a while. You haven't seen them.
That would be my game plan.
Right. Like I would go in there and run the clock, give Joe Mixon the ball, try to bleed that clock out, limit the amount of time that the Kansas City offense has on the field. They just don't do it. I mean, they've done it 3 times this year. The only 300+ yard games that Joe Mixon has this year, he had to touch the ball 30 times in the games.
I think you just go total. I think you go score for score.
And that's
who gets touchdowns, who gets field goals.
Yeah.
You do what Buffalo did. We're going to go for it on 4th down.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you saw the way Buffalo started that first drive, twice going for it on 4th down. I think that's the way you play the Chiefs. I think you just go score for score. They've proven that they have the weapons to do it, and let it fall where it falls.
And can Cincinnati keep Tyreek Hill and Travis Kelce in check again, like they did in the first game? I mean, those two guys combined only had 65 yards.
The way this defense is called is different than what you saw in Buffalo. So, do I think they can keep one of them in check? Yes.
Mm-hmm.
I have a funny feeling that Tyreek Hill is going to have at least one of those where you go, how is he that open?
Mm-hmm.
Blown assignment, blown coverage, somebody falls down, however he gets there. And that's the way it tends to go with Tyreek Hill. When somebody stymies him and he gets another shot at them, he tends to absolutely bury them. And if I was a Bengals fan, I would be worried about that. Now, here's the thing I will say. How many teams in the NFL allow fewer rushing yards per game than the Kansas City Chiefs? You think it's 10?
I was going to say 20. I don't think they're very good.
It's 3.
3?
It's the San Francisco 49ers.
Are you
the
serious?
Tennessee Titans, and the Los Angeles Rams.
Now, is this one of those?
That's it.
Is this one of those because that you can hurt them in the secondary, you just don't run on them?
It's because, and now
or you're playing from behind.
And now this is in the playoffs. I don't know if
you did not specify that.
I may have said that poorly.
Yeah.
In the playoffs, only 3 teams have allowed fewer rushing yards than them.
Mm-hmm.
And I look at that and go, I think that's one of those things where I can take advantage of a stat. Because what teams do against them is they try to shoot out with them. If you try to shoot out with Pat Mahomes, you're going to lose.
Mm-hmm.
This game is going to devolve into that one way or the other. There's no shot of this game being 17-13.
No.
That ain't happening.
No.
So how can you mitigate that? You have to slow down Ingram somehow because he has been a freak of nature for this team.
Mm-hmm.
Well, how do you do that? Draws, screen passes, hurt them with Joe Mixon early. Let them know you can do that. And that will stop that outside hellhound pass rush. And now you got a shot.
Yep.
If you can do that, you have a shot in this game. Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase are that good.
Agreed.
When it gets into the Jimmies and the Joes, I don't know how you're going to win this game.
I got experience on my side. There has not been a game, an AFC championship game since, well, actually in the history of AFC championship games, there's only been one other game that has had this much disparity between the experiences of the two teams, and it was that game that you were talking about earlier, the 2017 game between the Jacksonville Jaguars and the New England Patriots. Like, when you look at the last 3 years of playoff experience, well, obviously Cincinnati has none, and the Kansas City Chiefs have 8 wins in the last 3 years.
And that's one of the problems. Because there's a revisionist history with that game. See, I started burying Tom Brady at about the 10-minute mark of the second quarter.
Yep.
and people forget exactly how that game went. It looked strikingly similar to how the Bucs-Rams game went last week.
Yep.
Jaguars jump out, then it becomes abundantly clear that they don't know how to win. You do not know how to keep the ball away from them. And the experience beats you. And that's my fear here. If I had to guess how this game's going to go, I will say Cincinnati scores early. Momentum kind of starts to swing. Maybe get a stop on Mahomes. I think Cincinnati's going to lead for probably 20 of the 30 minutes in the first half.
Mm-hmm.
And the second half is all Kansas City Chiefs.
Really?
That is my fear of how this game goes.
Okay.
Are we ready to pick this?
Let's pick it. It'll pick the game right now. All right, so Kansas City is a 7.5-point favorite against the Cincinnati Bengals. And you know what, Chief? We're going to let you break the ice on this one.
I think 7.5's a lot, but I do think the Chiefs cover.
Okay.
Cincinnati's been a great story, and that is a team that's definitely got a bright future. I thought last week would be the end of the story, and they pulled that one out, but it's just that they pulled that out, and you hate to say luck. They won the game.
Yeah.
But there were some fortuitous events there that led to that victory, and I just don't see the Chiefs taking their foot off the gas. They're not going to waste that victory against Buffalo. That was so emotional, and they're clearly hungry to move on. They've got the experience. They're not looking ahead to the Super Bowl. Kansas City's in the moment. Kansas City wins this game, and I think easily. I don't even know what the line is for the over/under, but it goes over.
Right. Yeah. We'll get to that in a second.
The line's 54.5. Is that what you've got?
Yeah, it's 54.5.
Do you have a score projection on this? Just since we only have two games. I didn't ask either one of you for that, and mine's going to come completely off the top of my head.
35-28.
35-28. I am also going to take
that would put them not covering.
Oh, wait a minute. Yeah.
35.5,
28.
Not covering. I thought you were saying not covering the over-under.
I read the other one at 7. Yeah.
No. 7.5 would.
Okay, it'll cover. 38.
There you go.
38-28.
Good on you. Thinking on your feet.
28.
This is great.
Oops.
It's great for law enforcement to be able to think on their feet.
All right, I'm taking Kansas City. I'm taking Kansas City minus 7.5. I'm going over as well. And my score will be, I have a funny feeling Cincinnati's going to be winning this game at halftime, and I think it's going to be something in the range of 21-17. And I don't think Cincinnati scores again. So I'm going to go 38-21 Kansas City Chiefs.
All right. I'm going to go on the other side of you guys because I'm taking Cincinnati. 7.5 is too much.
I mean, I wish it was 6.5.
Of course.
It's not.
No. I'm not giving this a full touchdown because I think this is going to be a back-and-forth battle. I mean, you would have thought the way the game started the first time they played that Kansas City was just going to run all over them. And guess what? That didn't happen. They didn't run all over them. And the second half was all Cincinnati Bengals to come back and make it a game. So my final score prediction for this game is going to be Kansas City wins it, but it's going to be 36.
You're not aggressive enough to pick the Bengals?
No.
Oh, you give us all of the reasons that they're going to cover, and then you...
No. I think Kansas City's the better team. They're more experienced, and they'll probably end up the winner. But I think it's going to be more like a 37-34. They'll try. They might even have the ball with 2 minutes left and try to win the game, and they just won't be able to come up with it because, well, it's Cincinnati.
Tank, if you say 13 seconds,
there might be 13
I'm coming over. I'm coming over this table.
Can we bet on who would win in that? Because I'm taking him.
You're taking him?
100%.
All right, so you guys are on Kansas City minus the 7.5. I will take Cincinnati plus the 7.5. Still believe Kansas City's going to win, and we are all on the over because it's going to be aggressively over the 54.5.
I don't often feel bad for Vegas, but I don't think you could have set this number high enough.
When we come back, we will break down the NFC Championship game, San Francisco, L.A. for the third time this year. L.A.'s 0-2 so far against San Francisco. Will it happen a third time? We'll talk about it up next here on ESPN Asheville.
This is your Exergen Temporal Scanner weather forecast on ESPN Asheville.